Hi, welcome back to Genesis Custom Sabers. A lot of people have asked me, what do you think of Rogue One, a Star Wars story? And I loved it. I thought it was fantastic, maybe even better than The Force Awakens. And I think that's because The Force Awakens was up against so much. There was a lot of pressure to replace the stories of the Star Wars Expanded Universe, which I personally loved, to deliver performances on characters that we all know and love. Rogue One kind of had a clean slate in that regard. Having said that, I think Rogue One did a fantastic job of really creating a beautiful Star Wars story that's based on known things. You have the Death Star. You have the knowledge that the plans are stolen. So you've got that much already, but they introduced these new characters, these new elements that I thought were really well done. To start off with, I thought Rogue One followed in The Force Awakens' footsteps in terms of beautiful imagery. I love that about The Force Awakens. I loved it about Rogue One. There were some beautiful shots of the Death Star in orbit over Jeddah, the moon. Other things. There was that moment where the AT-AT comes through the smoke at you, especially in 3D on a big screen. It was just so impressive. A lot of really cool things like that. I could go on and on. But I really love the beautiful imagery. I really loved the use of the familiar ships and props. I thought they did a fantastic job at taking all of the tech of A New Hope era Imperial tech and reproducing and broadening it. Every switch, every dial, every doorway was perfect A New Hope era Imperial tech. Even the sounds of the buttons. It was just fantastic. Really well done. Really loved that. When it comes to imagery, of course, you've got the CGI. You've got the character of Governor Tarkin. And my first thought was when you come into the room and you see his reflection in the window, I'm like, oh, I wonder who they got to play Tarkin. That looks really good. And then he turns around and you see it's a CGI face. I wasn't disappointed. I thought that was cool and clever. When it comes time for them to do that with Leia, I thought, it was starting to get a little bit old. I would have preferred if they would have done it a little more subtly, maybe the images to be a little more cloaked in shadow, so you have to lean forward and just wonder, how did they do that? Did they get a look-alike and, a makeup? I would have liked a little bit more mystery there and shadowy shots than the full-on CGI face that we saw. Having said that, I thought one of the things they did really well was the use of characters from Star Wars A New Hope. I mean, I've only seen the film the once, but just in the one time seeing through, here's the characters that I counted that are familiar from Star Wars A New Hope. Dr. Evazan and Ponda Baba, of course, make an appearance. You better watch yourself. Have the death sentence on, the thing. Governor Tarkin, Jan Dodonna, Vader, of course, R2 and 3PO, Gold Leader, Red Leader, Captain Antilles, and of course Leia. Those are all characters from A New Hope. I probably missed a couple. In the background, of course, you've got other Star Wars characters that also make an appearance in the film. Bail Organa, Mon Mothma. If you're a fan of the Clone Wars, which I'm not, Saw Gerrera, Chopper makes an appearance, and probably some other Rebels characters. I'm not up to speed with Rebels yet, so I might have missed all of that. Definitely want to watch it again and catch a lot of those subtle things. There were some classic Star Wars lines that I thought were really clever. The use of, I have a bad feeling about this, probably only once in the film, but really kind of cut off in moment by K2SO, who I thought was a fantastic character. I love Alan Tudyk and his work. I was kind of hoping for a little bit more of the HK-47 angst that you get from the BioWare game, Knights of the Old Republic. There were some things I thought could have been done there, but I love the character. There were some other clever spots. I don't know if you picked out this two stormtroopers talking about how the VT-15 had become obsolete. And of course, we know hours later in Star Wars A New Hope, there's two other stormtroopers talking about, hey, have you seen the new VT-16? I thought that was really well done, kind of for Star Wars fans that slipped in there. Now, I've already said I love K2SO, but I thought the performances delivered by the other actors and the other characters were excellent. You've really picked top drawer talent to deliver these new characters, Captain Cassian and Jyn Erso. And of course, you've got the familiar actors, Mads Mikkelsen, who I was honored to meet once at my lightsaber table. Now he's in Star Wars. Thought that was very cool. All did a fantastic job. I really loved the acting. I really loved the story, even though in some ways the ending is predictable and you know kind of where it's going and you're suspecting that probably all these characters are going to die. That was okay. You just were swept up in the story of it all. I'm a purist and I love Star Wars, so one of the things I loved about this film was you get to see X-Wings again. You get to see them, hear them, feel them. You get to see and experience the imposing AT-AT, the Scout Walkers, the Stormtroopers. There were some great shots of Star Destroyers, some really beautiful shots. I loved that. I want more of that. I want more angles, more shots. I didn't so much care for the introduction of all the new ships. I understand you have to do it to some degree, but I would have been happy with just the stock and trade TIE fighter, not all these different wing configurations of TIEs, new shuttles and things like that, or could have used the Lambda class shuttle a little bit more. Just my opinion, but I really did enjoy seeing those ships again. One of the things that I don't know if they did on purpose, but I thought was awesome was subtle nods to the expanded universe. And maybe I'm reading too much into this, but when you see Vader's fortress on an unnamed planet, there's no little name there like there was with the other planets. I'm assuming that's Mustafar. You know, Vader's gone there to brood, either take over or build this fortress there. I was reminded of Bast Castle in the Jedi Outcast game, Jedi Knight Jedi Academy is what it was. And you've got Vader's fortress there. And even the flyover imagery I thought was very reminiscent, very similar to that. And I wonder if they borrowed that, you know, this idea of Vader having the secret fortress. I thought the creature with the tentacles that kind of messed with your mind was very reminiscent of the Yammisk from the new Jedi Order series. These creatures that were brain-like with lots of tentacles that could read your thoughts. I hope they borrowed these things from the expanded universe. That would give me, personally, a lot of hope that they're going to continue to borrow ideas and tech and story and characters from the expanded universe. I really hope they do that. All in all, I thought the film was great and left you wanting more in all the right ways. You don't care whose parents were who and where such and such came from and what's the story with this and how did this get there. You were really wrapped up in the story. And I want more Jeddah. The planet Jeddah, or the moon Jeddah, this ancient temple that did they worship the Jedi? Did they worship the Force? What's the story there? What was it like 1,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago in the Darth Bane era? What was going on there? Like, I want more of that. I thought the imagery was really evocative and it just drew me in and it made me want more of that story. I hope they deliver on that. So I hope you loved the film as much as I do. I'm definitely going to go see it again. It's definitely worth seeing in 3D. I thought the 3D was a nice touch on this film. It's just a really awesome addition to the Star Wars library of films, and I can't wait to see what's next. Thanks again for watching.